So we're going to be doing a lot of interactive work together. Feel free to unmute yourself or go into chat if you would like to participate together. And let's see if I can start this. So, stress. Let's just start by talking about where we are right now. You may be experiencing any one of these different levels of stress. And oops, the poll is already up. You can move the poll out of the way if you want to look at the screen. So there are 3 levels of stress that we consider low stress. And by low stress, we're saying, well, you're either great or, if you're not, you can easily be cheered up. You can cope really well with anything that's going on. In the middle, we have this moderate level of stress where you might just have some bad days, or maybe things that used to be easy are more difficult now, or you can't do things the way you used to. Or you may be in a position of high stress. You're avoiding things that cause distress, you've checked out, you're really having issues. So I'm going to ask everybody who's on to participate in the poll and pick either the emoji or the words that kind of make you feel like that's where you're living right now. A couple of seconds for everyone to finish. Sharing the results. Can everyone see the results that I'm sharing? Yes? Okay, good. So you can see we're kind of clustered in that sort of middle space. Nobody's really feeling great. We've got 2 votes for I've been better and a vote for meh. And so you can see you're not alone. We all struggle with stress. And we're going to talk today about the science behind stress and some ways in which we can work to manage it, because we can't actually control what happens to us. So we're going to talk about ways that we can manage what's going on in our lives, and particularly centered around this holiday theme. So right now, we're going to do some centering. And we're going to start by using what we call touch points to anchor your attention. So bringing your attention to where your bottom is sitting on the chair and your feet are on the floor and your hands anywhere in your lap. So just bring your attention there. And taking just a few breaths together. And making your exhale just a little slower than your inhale. You can just bring the nervous system down a bit. And connecting to the current time and space, meaning noticing the thoughts that are going on in your head and whatever emotions are riding on those thoughts without any judgment at all. Maybe those thoughts are where you just came from, or where you're going to go next, or what you're going to do this weekend. Just acknowledging what's there. And now bringing your nervous system into the present moment through sound, the sound of my voice, other sounds in the room or outside of your home, any sights, anything you can look at in your office space, or anything that you're feeling in your body right now. Maybe a little stress, maybe you're feeling some skepticism, maybe you're cold, maybe you're hot. Whatever you're feeling, let your nervous system come into the present. And now notice the context of our present situation. You made a conscious decision to be here. So let everything else go. Leave all those to-dos behind. end all the multitasking, and we'll be together in community here, sharing and discussing what we're experiencing together. So taking a few more deep breaths. Okay. And that was a meditation. Very plain and simple. Getting attuned to where you are, how you're feeling, what you're thinking. A few breaths brings us down, brings that bit of calm back to our day. So let's start out by asking, what is stress? And my definition of stress here is a reaction to any type of real or perceived threat or demand. So it could be a real physical threat, or it could be something that we perceive to be threatening. Okay. And stress is neither positive or negative. Sometimes stress motivates us greatly, and sometimes stress brings us to our knees. But it always exists. And it really is a matter of what we've just run out of resources to cope, right? We're just not coping with what's going on. Maybe we've run out of time to get everything done for the holidays. That's going to bring us stress, right? And this is professional and it's human. So there's no shame to show up at the office place, the workplace, with your baggage. We all experience this stress. And the holidays are particularly bad because it disrupt our daily routine. They disrupt our sleep, they disrupt our diet, and they bring an awful lot of stress into our lives. So what I'd like to do next is have people either unmute or go into the chat and share with us, what makes the holiday stressful for you? What makes the holiday stressful for you? And you're welcome to share in the chat or unmute yourself and just popcorn out whatever it is that makes the holiday stressful. Because clearly, if you've come here, there's some
Annual review time.
annual review time. Is that done at the end of the year? Yeah. What else? What else is bringing stress at the holiday time?
Probably being away from family or being alone.
Yeah. Especially with COVID, right?
That's everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unreasonable demands. Yeah. What
It's
we
the only
perceive to be unreasonable, they want to do.
right. Sometimes that's the only time people see their families around the holidays.
Yeah. And this year, maybe you will and maybe you won't.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? Cooking, shopping, cleaning? Any of those ring a bell? Even worse, reasonable demands from family members. Awesome.
A lot of layoffs this time of the year.
Yeah.
A lot of projects ending, a lot of uncertainty.
Uncertainty. That's a big one. Thank you for that. Yeah.
I think too with New Year's, right? You almost feel like you need to set new goals. Like you should set new goals, and that can sort of be a stressful experience too. Is thinking about what new goals I need to set for myself, and so I think that's an interesting sort of cultural stress too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Thank you, Matthew. All of those shoulds. Shoulds are very, very stressful. And certainly this time of year, if you think that you should be setting goals for the new year, that can bring a lot of stress.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there are two kinds of stress. There is acute stress, acute stress. So say you are driving on the highway and somebody cuts you off. You slam on the brakes, Your hands are tight on the wheel. And you go, phew, that was close. So your heart rate may go up because you've just been in a real physical dangerous situation. And you take a couple of breaths and maybe it comes back down. So this dotted line here is your stress baseline. So anytime you experience a stress response, you bounce off that baseline. And when that stress response is over, ideally, you come back down. And we see this in animals. If you ever see your pets shake out all their anxiety, there's actually a book called Why Zebras Don't Get Ulcers, where they talk about when a zebra is confronted by a lion, they don't go, gee, I wonder what I should do. They just go hightail it out of there. And when they're done and they've outraced the lion, they just start to shake and they get all that adrenaline out of them. And they just go back to eating. So they go back down to baseline. The problem is humans don't often go back down to baseline. So we have a stressor, say that hitting the brake in the car, and then we don't quite come back down. Maybe we start screaming at the car who can't hear us. We start calling people names and what were you thinking? What were you doing? And our stress just keeps going up and up and up. And we've seen this in road rage, right? Where people just can't let go of something that was not intended to be harmful to you, but you perceived it as being harmful. So you've added to a real situation by perceiving other things. And so your baseline keeps rising. And this is what can cause us enormous physical and emotional fatigue and, a lot of disease as well. A lot of harm can come of this. And this time of year, our stress response can be triggered. It can be triggered constantly. And the best kept secret for managing your stress is present moment awareness, which we also call mindfulness. And what mindfulness does is it calms your nervous system down so that your stress response doesn't keep getting kicked in. So you can stay at that baseline level. So you might have a stressor and come back up, but you're able to drop yourself right back down. And so by paying attention to the present moment, you're less likely to get caught up and overwhelmed by all the holiday stress. So, when you're like, for instance, out taking a walk, is your mind on everything but what's around you? Or is your mind on the nature that you're walking through? Are you missing the trees and the sunshine and the animals and the water? Because you're so busy either listening to music or stressing over, that performance evaluation that's coming up or worrying about who's going to show up for the holidays. So being in that present moment is what mindfulness is all about. And we can do this. So that is a definition of mindfulness, being in the present moment on purpose and without judgment. So, we're not saying look on the bright side of everything. Notice that we're not doing that. The present moment might be sad. It might make you angry. It might be distracting. No matter what that emotion is, no matter what that situation is, reduces your stress levels. So let's look at the science behind this together. So this is the human body, and there are internal and external stressors. So in our example earlier, the external stressor was the car that cut us off. The internal stressor was actually our own response to that, the road rage that we felt. Okay, so our perception of a stressor is often the fight, flight, freeze syndrome. I'm sure lots of you know what that is, where the body prepares itself to fight back, or it just freezes in fear, or it wants to run away. Okay, so when that kicks in, then we have the stress reaction, and hormones get pumped through the body. So cortisol goes up in the body, adrenaline goes up, insulin goes up, the body's flooded with sugar, And so our blood pressure rises, our pulse rises, we get the sweaty palms. Everybody's familiar with all that stress reaction that we get, right? And if that just happens once and we go back down to baseline, we're fine. But when that happens over and over again, we end up in this hypoarousal state. So we're hyperaroused, our blood pressure stays high, we end up having sleep disorders, anxiety, headaches, backaches, stomach aches. So if you're experiencing things, you're like, I don't know, I just always have a headache. Think about whether that is actually a signal that your body is stressed. Okay? Anything that, if you can't sleep at night, your body is stressed. Okay? And so once we start feeling these things, then we end up trying to cope. Maybe we overcompensate, we overwork, or we overeat, or we smoke, or we use substances, alcohol, pot, whatever. And these maladaptive coping mechanisms, well, on their own, isn't a problem. It's not a problem if we have a glass of wine with dinner. It's not a problem. But if we're using it to cope with this dysregulation, it's just going to further compound the stress. And so you could see these little arrows on the screen. Each of them goes both ways. Every time we fall into one of these categories, we're adding stress back into the body. And ultimately, what we're going to do is break down. There's going to be exhaustion, burnout. I have experienced burnout many times in my tech career. Just being overwhelmed and burning out, feeling a loss of enthusiasm, and it can lead to a lot of physical disease in the body. So what we want to do is bring mindfulness to play, and we're going to talk about 6 ways that mindfulness can actually help us to cope with this kind of stress. And the first way is that mindfulness actually changes your brain's activity. So when we were in the car and our foot hit the brakes because somebody cut us off, that was a big thank you to the amygdala. So the amygdala is also called the primitive brain. It's the part of the brain that searches for threats. Okay. So anytime, your brain is constantly looking for anything that's physically going to threaten you. And when it finds that, it doesn't know the difference between a physical threat and a perceived threat. And that's what we're going to keep talking about today. What is a real perceived threats are all those stressors that we talked about at the beginning from the holidays. What if the food doesn't come out right? People who are requesting they come to our homes when we don't want them. Getting the cards out in time. All of those are perceived threats. They're not really threats to our physical well-being, right? But we still see them as threats. So the amygdala is searching for these threats. And the problem is that when the amygdala is engaged, the prefrontal cortex goes offline. So it literally blue screens out. And has anybody ever gone like, I can't think? I'm so upset I can't think, right? This is exactly what you are absolutely correct. You can't think. It literally shuts down this thinking portion of your brain. As soon as all of the cortisol and all the hormones rush into the body, it's over. So sometimes you can even see yourself reacting and you're like, I know I shouldn't be saying this, but I can't help myself because your brain has literally shut down. The other part of the brain that gets shut down is the hippocampus, which is your center for memory and compassion. So you're also, not really being kind to yourself and you're not really being kind to others. So what mindfulness does is it allows us to have the amygdala know the difference between a perceived threat and a physical threat. It's just that one tiny little pause, that one tiny bit of moment where you can say, oh, this is not really a physical threat. That turns your prefrontal cortex right back on. Okay, so getting back to our diagram here, instead of fight, flight, or freeze kicking in, we have an appraisal of thought and awareness. Okay? So you're starting to see that your brain is coming back online, and you can take this pause, and instead of just reacting immediately to everything that's going on around you, and I know we all know these people who just like, no matter what you say to them, they're in and they're reacting, right? So instead, pause where you can then come up with an appraisal of what's happening, and then you can have a contextual response where you can recover more quickly from whatever it is that you were concerned about, because you've like felt into the body, you've got this emotional awareness of context, and you can more easily seek new options and recover more quickly so that that baseline comes back down, right? Okay, so that is the first way, the scientific way that mindfulness helps us with stress. Okay. The second way is that you become aware of your thoughts. Okay, so everyone takes their thoughts literally. Like, if I'm thinking it, it must be so, but it isn't. You know, your brain works like a suggestion box. It just keeps coming up with ideas and solutions, and you have no control over it. You don't choose the thoughts that come into your head. So knowing that, you also don't need to act on every thought that comes into your head. So when you choose what you can respond to, you're being more mindful. Okay? Your stress level will drop when you feel like you have a choice in what's going on. When you feel you have no control, stress rises. And one way to be more resilient and have control is to recognize that you get to pick what thoughts you're going to respond to. So, for example, your mind is telling you all those shoulds. I think Matthew mentioned earlier, yeah, I should set some goals for the holidays, right? For the new year. And so when you're thinking all of these shoulds, it's time to start to simplify your life. Okay, there's no need for the shoulds. Okay, just reset your expectations and make it more realistic for you to accomplish your goals. So just because something might be a tradition, oh, we always do this, we always have to do this, maybe this year we don't do it. Maybe this year, I'm stressed. I really don't want a tree. I just don't want it. I did that last year. There were no decorations in my house last year. I was a stress case. And I was like, okay, I know what we usually do every year, but this year is going to be different and I can't do it. Right now, there's a tree sitting outside my front door. I'm in a better space. And so it's all going to come back this year. So it's not forever. Just noticing that you have all these shoulds that you want to react on, doesn't mean you have to. So that's one way of dealing with a little bit of stress. Okay. Number 3 is mindfulness makes you more sensitive to the needs of your body. And so I want to start letting people unmute and talk about, where do you feel stress in the body? When you're stressed out, where do you feel it?
For me, it's kind of like a tight, bit of like a headband, or like a flushing sensation too in the back of the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, headaches. That's usually the first one. Like I'll have a headache all the time.
Yeah. Headaches, neck pain.
Shoulders.
Yeah.
Shoulders, like we pull them up to our ears.
Random sinus infections. I'm not sure the origin of, working on this.
Yeah, all those little aches and pains that you're not really sure where they came from, right? Yeah.
Chest and stomach. It's me.
Thank you. Yes. Chest and stomach is me also. Always feeling, feeling stomach disruptions. So when you're really busy, like during the holiday seasons, it can start to, all that busyness can start to block you from feeling what your body's telling you. Your body keeps score. It knows where happiness lives. It knows where anxiety lives. It knows where anger lives. And if you can take that moment to feel into the body, then you can actually notice that you're getting upset or stressed before it gets out of control. So if you've done any Eastern practices like yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong, you know what it's like to feel into the body. And those are all really, really excellent mindfulness practices. And we're going to do one now called a body scan. So instead of being rigid and upright, just come into a comfortable, relaxed seat. And you can close your eyes if you'd like.
All right, Dori, I just want to interrupt and say this is why you're here, because no one ever has relaxed before at Esteemed.
Thank you, Chris.
This is the first time.
So coming into that comfortable seat. And if you want to keep your eyes open, that's fine. You can just turn your gaze downward and soft. And if you'd rather, just close your eyes. And anytime your mind starts to wander off, just come back to the scan. And we'll be going through different parts of the body, and you'll just bring your attention back to the points that I'm talking about. So to begin, feeling into the feet, bringing all your attention to your feet, noticing your toes, the soles of the feet, the heel, the top of the feet, the ankles, feeling whether they're warm or cold. Maybe you have socks or shoes on, the pressure. Maybe there's some aches or cramping in the feet. And then moving the attention up to the shins and the calves. Noticing what's on the surface or what's inside. Moving up to the knees, the kneecap, the tendons around the back of the knee. Maybe you've had some injuries to the knee that come to mind. And if those are painful for you, you can move yourself back to a more neutral place, your hands or your feet, until we move away from the part of the body that might trigger you. Moving up to the upper leg, the thighs, the hamstrings, the glutes. And now bringing your attention to your legs as a whole, from the toes to the thighs. Seeing any tension we find, if that's possible, or accepting what we find. Maybe some pain or some pressure that we can't release. That's okay. Moving into the torso, the hips, your butt on the chair. Noticing that that's the home of some of the body systems, reproduction and elimination, moving your attention up into the belly, the home of your digestion, perhaps the result of some of your stress, around the back, the lower back, tailbone, moving to the waist, bringing the attention to the upper torso, the rib cage housing the heart and lungs and lots of other body organs that keep us alive, the spine and the back, allowing us to be upright, transmitting signals from our nervous system. Moving the attention up to the chest, maybe feeling the breath coming in and out as the chest rises and falls. Bringing attention to the shoulders, allowing them to relax if they can. Maybe we feel some pain there. And then bringing the attention down to the hands, the right hand and the left hand. The miracle of all those tendons and muscles and ligaments that allow us to wiggle our fingers. Backs of the hands, the front of the hand, the wrist, the lower arms, bringing attention to the elbows, to the upper arms, the biceps, the triceps. Maybe if you did a workout this morning, you're still feeling the burn there. Now from the shoulders down to the pelvis, taking that all in as one, breathing into the body and releasing. And coming up to the neck, the throat, back of the neck, where the spinal cord connects us with our heads. Coming around to the face, the jaw, finding relaxation in the jaw, the mouth, the lips, the teeth, noticing where your tongue is, noticing if your mouth is dry. The nose and cheeks and sinuses. The eyes and the skin around the eyes, the temples. The forehead, the crown of the head, and the back of the head. Noticing the head as a whole. Taking a moment to breathe into the head. Now noticing the body as a whole. The head, shoulders, arms, torso, pelvis, legs, and feet. Taking a few breaths here. And opening your eyes when you're ready. So even if you take 5 minutes a day in the middle of your day to reset and do a quick body scan, you'll be ready for the rest of your day. Does anyone want to share how they felt doing that body scan?
It's really amazing how much of a reset it really does feel like. I think that's something that's just incredible, and I think we forget too, is just really taking those 5, 10. I mean, I'm sure. So how long is that exercise, Dori?
We did it for 8 minutes.
Yeah. So even 8, not even 10 minutes.
Yep.
Can really make it feel like you're resetting the day.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Matt.
Excuse me, Dori, I'm sorry. The highlight on breath is really important. And, like I do that like I take time with my family and do meditation on the weekends, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's good, but honestly, even just doing that just now for 5 minutes shows me how, that is missing from my personal day, and I think that there are other things I know of right in my day where it's like, I want to run, I want to meditate, I want to do these things, but we have an organization to run here. And so and I'm a lot, at the hub of that in many cases. So it's like, do we work another 3 hours today, or do we run, or do we take that 10 minutes, and naturally it's so minimal, but has such a major impact. It's just absolutely immeasurable.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Chris.
The first time I did this exercise like this was with my martial arts group years ago. We did a 4-day retreat in the woods, and our version of it had us die laying in the it had us lay in the woods and die and turn to dust, and the creatures that walked past us and our dust flowing in the air, and just like becoming one with the environment. And it was such a great exercise, but it's always
awesome.
funny that was the topic.
I love that. I love that. Just go into corpse pose on the ground, right? It's great. That's great. So yeah, if you've got another 3 hours to go, can you spare 5 minutes and just do a quick body scan? A lot of people also like to do the body scan in the morning in bed. You can just do it lying in bed. And I've led body scans that were as long as 45 minutes. You can do each individual toe and every individual muscle, left and right, and make it as detailed or as high level as you need. And really to feel into it, so that when you'll feel your stress sooner. You'll feel that tummy ache or that flutter in your throat a lot quicker when you start becoming connected to your body. So moving on, the next way that mindfulness helps us is that it switches on your being mode. So we're always so busy doing. That's what Chris was just talking about, right? And what about being? What about, how can we just be more present? And this is a little micro practice that we can do, which really allows us to just in just a couple of seconds regain our composure and reset ourselves. So even before anything happens, if you're walking into a room, if you're about to start a new activity of any sort, even if it's to go yell at the kids, stop. Okay, feel your 2 feet on the floor and take a breath. Take one full round of breath. And this is just what we call a micro practice. So you can do this over and over again all day long. And you don't you don't really need any time. You don't need to set aside any time for this. Okay. So when you breathe in, you're breathing in the context of your situation, and you're breathing out, you're letting everything be. And that allows you to like set, like, okay, maybe I was going to walk in and start yelling at the kids. But now maybe I can do it with a little more context and be a little more self-aware of what I'm doing. Okay. The next micro practice that I have for you is actually called the STOP. And the acronym for STOP allows us to keep from immediately reacting to situations. So this is a good one. Say you ask somebody to bring a certain food to your holiday dinner, and they show up and they didn't bring what they said they were going to bring. They brought something else, and it's something you already made. So, hey, maybe now you've got 2 pumpkin pies instead of 1. And you don't have any appetizers because they didn't bring the appetizers. You know, what do we do there? Okay. What do we do when that very loud uncle comes and starts talking politics? And we really want this to be a nice house. So
Video cam into my house, or is this more common than I thought?
yeah, this is really common. Everybody, yeah. So yeah, everybody experiences the same things. And I appreciate you saying that, Chris, because we all tend to think that this is just us. It's just me. Why do I have to be the one that experiences this uncle or this, this person who can't follow instructions or whatever? It's not just you. It's not just you. This is really, and it really helps to know that. It really helps to know, it isn't just me. So if the S stands for slowing down, it allows us to disengage from the situation. We just stop. And when we talked earlier about the amygdala not knowing the difference between, an absolute threat or a perceived threat, this is the point at which mindfulness in your body that you're about to be triggered, and you can disengage from it. Okay, so you stop and you take a nice full round of breath, and then you can observe how you're feeling. The same way we did at the beginning of the session, where we were looking at our thoughts and our emotions and our body sensations. Start to feel, what am I feeling? What's in my head? What are my emotions? And then instead of getting, your buttons pushed and your brain being hijacked, you can then look at the context and say, how do I need to respond? So I did this about a year ago. I just mentioned earlier that last December was not my best time. And I still haven't gotten to the P. I still haven't gotten to proceed because I really don't know what the wise thing is to do. And I could do a whole lot of things with this person that really triggered me. I can tell them to go away, or I can just pretend it didn't happen. But I just, I don't really know what the right answer is. When it's somebody who's really close to you, sometimes you just don't know. So right now, I'm just still sitting here waiting. Maybe you'll come up with a way to proceed in seconds or in minutes, or you can tell somebody, can I get back to you in an hour? I really need some time. So this is another really great micro practice. And finally, mindfulness really helps you become more compassionate and aware of emotions of other people, their needs, and also of your own. We always say, you put on your oxygen mask before you put on the mask of the person next to you. You've got to have a little compassion for yourself before you can be compassionate towards other people. And so much nicer than you treat yourself. You tend to tell people, no, it's going to be okay. No, we know it was just a mistake. It's all right. Isn't that what we would say to our best friends? Yeah, no, it's okay. It's going to be all right. But we don't do that. We don't give ourselves that compassion. So when we practice mindfulness, we end up, really feeling more compassionate and less in conflict with ourselves and with other people. So that unconscious bias doesn't come into play. We can feel the spirit of the holiday season. And so a little example here is you've got your tree up and it's all decorated, and then along comes the cat. Cat knocks down the tree. So I've seen several different expressions on people's faces. So you're laughing, right? It's funny. It's funny to you. You're laughing. The tree's on the floor. The ornaments are everywhere. The cat ran off. And you're standing there laughing. But your partner was in the other room, heard the crash. Your partner comes running in, and they are livid. It's like, why are you laughing? This is horrible. Look at this mess. What are we going to do? I told you to put the cat in the basement, right? All of these things come rushing out of your partner, and you're standing there laughing. What do you do? What do you do when you're confronted with that scenario?
I mean, just try to diffuse the situation with non-conflictive words.
Yeah, I'm
I was
I'm
gonna
in the
say
conflict of
apologize, you know.
yeah, I'm in conflict avoidance as well.
I mean,
Immediately start cleaning it up.
yeah, that's another one.
Yeah.
While apologizing.
After you plant your feet and take one breath, though.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Would anybody here go, oh, lighten up? Has
I would
anybody
probably
done that to you?
Strategy.
That'd be a few minutes later.
Been there, learned better.
Yeah,
I'd say the same.
I'm still
Yeah.
in that class.
yeah. You're laughing, the other person's angry, and what do? You throw gasoline on the fire and go, oh, lighten up. So yeah, there are better ways of dealing with that. And think about it this way. Think about it in terms of just like me. When you have a disparate response to a situation from somebody else, it's okay. Their context, their world, their life experience isn't yours, and you're not necessarily going to have the same experience. So just say, well, this person gets angry just like me. This person can be scared just like me. This person has feelings just like me. It humanizes the situation so much to recognize that just because we had a certain reaction to something doesn't mean the other people around us are going to have that same reaction. So mindfulness really helps with that compassion that we're looking for. So we started a little late, and I really wanted to take us through a final gratitude meditation that will help set us up for the holidays. Is everybody okay sticking around for just a few more minutes?
Sure.
Yeah, let's do it.
I appreciate that. Thank you. So I'm going to stop the share just briefly so we can all get back together on the screen. And finding a comfortable seat for yourself. Feeling the weight of your body in your hips and into the chair and into the feet on the floor. So allowing gravity to hold you down. And this will help bring your shoulders down and your spine tall. And if you would like, close your eyes or lower your gaze. And be alert and awake and present. Noting that any picture-perfect image of the holidays is something we've built up in our minds, those expectations and shoulds about how life ought to be. And those expectations are rarely met. It's really easy to get caught up in this comparing mind. You know, you might think to yourself, this is how things are, and this is how they should be. And we strive to create this holiday bliss. You know, it's exhausting. You see it in TV shows and in movies and on your friends' social feeds and in advertisements. And our complex reality is so much more than that. Okay? All this consumerism generally leads us just to unhappiness and to all this restless craving for more and more. So instead of aiming for perfection and letting every detail create worry and stress, we can use the holidays to appreciate the people around us and the good fortune that we find. And we can enjoy these moments and even find humor in them, even when maybe there isn't any. Noticing that even when things fall apart, there's often more to see under the surface. And that letting go of hard and fast expectations can open you up to more opportunities for connection and for joy. So taking a few moments for mindfulness allows us to observe without reactivity and gives us a break from this escalating holiday stress. So notice what's going on for you right now. Do that check-in once again. And then either come back to your attention in the contact points of your body on the seat and the floor, or to your breath, whichever one of those is going to suit you today, whatever feels more supportive. Acknowledging when your mind's wandered off, bringing the attention back to either the body or to the breath, and we'll be calling those anchors. And when you feel stressed or even relaxed or anything else, just let it all be. Without any judgments or expectations, just notice it all. Now begin to take a notice of what comes up when you picture the holiday season over the next couple of weeks. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just notice what comes up. How does your body feel? Is it tight? Is it restless? Are you maybe feeling a little sick to your stomach? Or are you feeling exhausted already? Notice what you feel and then let it be and come back to the breath or the contact points of the body. Now notice what emotions are arising. Maybe it's joy and excitement. Maybe it's fear and dread. Where are your thoughts going? Maybe they're even conflicting. All these different pictures of what might be. Ruminating over planning. Stress over what seems possible in the time that remains. But right now, there's nothing to do, nowhere to be, nowhere to go. In this moment, sitting is all there is. You know, some other time, You can act or think, but right now, let go of fixing. Just focus on your next breath. And now shifting your attention to somebody you care about. You may wish to place your right hand over your heart, cover it with your left hand. This might be your partner, a family member, a friend, coworker, even a pet. And repeat these phrases silently. May you be peaceful. May you be at ease. May you be well. May you be happy. Now bring that same focus to yourself. This is maybe a time of stress for you, but you can give yourself the same wish that you gave to that person you cared about. And repeat these phrases silently to yourself. May I be peaceful. May I be at ease. May I be well. Practicing the best that you are able of letting go. That picture of the perfect meal, somebody derailing all of your plans. They're just thoughts in your head. They're not the here and now. It's all a thought. Don't wrestle with it. Don't engage with it. Just note that it's a thought. And then come back to breathing in and breathing out. Allowing the holidays to just happen. Taking care to do whatever keeps you grounded, like sleep and exercise. Enjoy it all. Plan what needs planning. Let go of the rest. Focus on whatever you value and you find most sustaining this time of year. Bringing some movement back into the body, wiggling the fingers and the toes. Turn your head from side to side. Taking a few breaths together. When you're ready, opening your eyes. Here's a summary of the practices that we did today. We talked about how mindfulness changes your brain activity so that you're less reactive. So your prefrontal cortex doesn't go offline and you can continue to think within context of the situation. We talked about becoming aware of your thoughts as just thoughts, that you don't necessarily need to respond to every thought. That you can become more sensitive to your body's needs, doing that brief body scan during the day or any of the other Eastern movement practices. You can switch from doing to being, just with 2 feet and a breath, how that can recenter us. We talked about managing reactions so that we remain in control of ourselves so we can feel more resilient, and using the stop paradigm to stop and observe what's going on, taking a breath and proceeding when we feel more grounded. And we talked about how mindfulness helps us become compassionate and emotionally aware, both of ourselves and others. I got bumped out. Can someone tell me what was the last thing that you heard?
I was going to say, what happened to Dori?
Dori,
I thought she was just giving us a quiet moment to reflect.
I hope that was a quiet moment for you all. I crashed and burned. Literally, I just completely dropped out.
It took
What
care
was
of
the-
Mark's lens flare, which was starting to look like he was ascending to a next dimension as it came across the
Like
screen.
that.
I was very impressed.
It's,
Lovely.
it came on at just the right time. It does this time of day, it's always an issue. But yeah, I was sort of digging in.
So I was sharing my screen and went over the different practices that we did today. Was everyone able to hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good. So if we could, I'm going to stop sharing that out. Just for a real brief moment. I was going to do this on the whiteboard, but we're tight on time. If everyone would like to unmute and share, what are you grateful for this holiday season? Because gratitude really helps ground and focus us and gets us out of this stress mode. What are you grateful for?
All of my plates are spinning really well right now. There's a lot of parts with kids and college and school and pandemics and all these things. And at the moment, all my plates look like they're going to get through the holidays just fine.
Beautiful. Thank you, Will.
Okay, I'll go. I'm grateful for being able to see my family. I haven't seen them in over a decade. So I'm going to finally get to see them in South America. And I'm grateful that I'm actually did very well financially this year, despite everything going on. So I'm really happy for that.
Wonderful.
I'll chime
Thank
in on
you,
that note
Cindy.
and just say I'm always grateful that Drupal is hard to learn and that like there's not a lot of competition at this level, because I also have done pretty well this year, which is helping too, because everything's so uncertain right now with COVID and everything, and so it's just good to know that I'm doing personally all right.
Great. Thank you for sharing that, Matt. Anyone else want to share?
Richard,
Good.
go ahead, Mark. Somebody's got to go.
Yeah, I'm thankful for my family. Thankful for the resiliency of my two little boys who seem to have some of this stuff baked in until I mess it up somehow. But they keep me grounded, and I'm happy for that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mark.
Nice. Yeah, my brother just recovered from COVID, so I'm happy that he's all doing all right. And then also just that I'm in a good, safe, healthy place.
Mm.
Even if you have to wear a parka sometimes, right?
Dude, it's cold in the north of Portugal. Don't let anybody tell you that it's warm here.
Kid showed up in a coat I couldn't imagine anybody from California even knew existed the other day on a call. Are you outside? Oh, okay. Well, I don't know about the living accommodations exactly, but I like the idea of the trip, All right, I'm speaking. I'll go. I have like an incredible overflowing amount to be grateful for. I am someone who's always been successful. I've always been smart, right? And not always in grades and stuff like that, but it's funny, Facebook's allows us to kind of keep in touch with our peers, if you will, right, from the past. So, I have the luxury of being able to kind of look back, and most people in my world, may have more degrees than I do or what have you. I kind of come from a fairly elite little pocket, and, yet we're not just me, but we here are doing as well, if not way better, and we're only getting started, right? So that is a mouthful. And for me, really, truly somebody that has always literally for 30 years, I've been visioning concepts, and it's on here, but we speak very regularly. And for me to show up and be like, man, and for Albert, right? So Matt and I were on a call last night with Drupal, and for people to mention his name and go, he is brilliant. Right, so that is someone who's part of the Drupal community, right? Who said that for our times, right? 25 years, right? We'll say that about our partner, and so for me and Albert to be like, I don't think we even really realize what we have here, or we're just beginning to, with some of these relationships, which is all of this, right? All that we have here, and Brian's nodding his head. We may not be working together right now, but I think of Brian practically every day, right? Every day, I think, when can I work with Brian again, right? And the fact that he's here for this, right? I get to be like, man, I'm seeing you, you know what I mean? And it is just truly, I cannot express the kind of gratitude, the gratitude for Dori, the gratitude for all people here, I don't know Mark yet, but I'm grateful he's here because, he's already doing well, and he showed up here, Cindy, same thing. I think I know you, but I don't remember from where, so.
We've actually had a video chat.
That's right. Right.
A long time ago, but you get to know me more.
I'm glad. And so, I can only say that I again, am just grateful for everyone, in the business, but the business is definitely, whether it's Drupal or Esteemed, that is definitely a part of my family, and has been for a really long time. Whether it's people I've known for years here, or it's people that I've known for 6 months, these relationships are everything to me. And, same thing circles around my children, my wife, and, 25 years and so on. So I'm extremely, extremely blessed, far more than most. And, it's hard you really almost need, that's why I bring Dori here, because you need to have gratitude and gratefulness, that you really probably exists for most of us if we stop and think about it, one way or another. So, anyway, thanks everybody for everything that you do here and attending this. And just last thing I'll say is that we did want to let everybody know. I know, like, say Cindy might not know, or Mark, they're new, and we want to make sure if you can come to Dori, we're going to get together and do this next Friday for a holiday thing that Matt's organizing. So it'll be kind of Drupal campy esque. I think it's next Friday at 2 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah.
So anyway, we'd love to see you guys all there.
Okay.
Lovely. Thank you, Chris. Does anyone else want to share before we end today?
I'm just happy to be alive, and there's a lot more to that than
There you
than
go.
could possibly know.
Thank you, Brian.
He's a fighter.
So I'm just going to share out my contact information here. If anybody needs to get back in touch with me, if you have questions on any of the practices, I really appreciate you sticking around to do that final share. That was beautiful, and I appreciate it so much. I am grateful to Chris and to Matthew for having me here today and allowing me to share some practices with you. And if you need me for anything, just please feel free to reach out. And I hope you all have a really wonderful, stress-free holiday.
And I would add finally that if anybody that is on our team is interested in meeting with Dori, you know, on a one-on-one basis, that we have some folks doing that. And, you know, I'm not going to mention any names, but, you know, difficult client interactions, you know, things like that. Dori's really great at all that and helping people through those types of scenarios. So part of the reason that we brought her in, and we'll continue to bring her back and try to help incorporate some of this wisdom that she brings into the company. But do take advantage of that, because, you know, as we've seen, just some of these minor techniques can really change the way you impact things all around.
Mm.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Chris.